we had neither of us had ever been into your new restaurant, Pizza Fire. We saw it, and we walked in, and I said, what do you think this is, Ian? And he said, it looks like Chipotle for pizza, right? Or Subway for pizza, right? Something where you walk along and pick it. So we ate. We both got what we wanted, which is usually a battle Ian and I have. I got mine my way. He got his way. They were hot and fresh and outstanding. So as Carolyn said, we went back to the office saying, this is fantastic. We love this. And it was funny because while we were driving, we did not yet know Sean, right? Or Ryan, or knew nothing. We didn't even know we were going to be friends or meet you. I was in the car, and Ian said, what are you thinking about? And I said, how to scale this thing. Anything that we like, we want to figure out how to scale all over the place. That's always the focus. So it's ironic that shortly thereafter, we get a call, said, you guys up for a meeting? I said, about what? And they said, we love some advice on scaling. I said, what's your business? And they said, Pizza Fire, that we had literally just been in. So we are thrilled to have you here.
Yeah.
I would love you to back up first before we talk about Pizza Fire and scale, and tell them just about some of your other accolades in the pizza business.
Sure. Actually, we started in the pizza bought Romeo's 15 years ago. So Romeo's is 15 years ago is a one-store mom and pop in Medina. Now we're a $22 million corporation, 35 stores. We're expanding into other states. So it took 15 years to figure out how to get there through that scale. Through those years, I've won a lot of pizza awards. Best pizza in the Midwest 3 times. Best gourmet pizza in America once. I've been to Italy 8 times, competed at the World Pizza Championships. I've lost 8 times. It's also a record for Americans. I'm proud of that record. But through the whole time, I learned and just met people throughout the path that brought something to the table. And I think back about every book I read, every seminar I went to, everything like this I attended. And my whole goal was to find one thing to learn and put it in and use, right? So sometimes you go to a convention and it becomes overwhelming because you're confronted with 100 great ideas. But the reality is you have to apply it. It has to work. So, all of those little ones added up to build the company to where it was. And with Romeo's, we've become a dominant player in Northeast Ohio, where we have 10 stores in Columbus that are thriving and just, blows us away every time we look for locations. And now we're moving out of state. So it's exciting.
So let's back up, because a lot of times when usually by the time people call me and they want to scale the business, that's the first time they thought of growing their business. Which means that when they launched and designed their business, they didn't design it for scale, right? So some of the businesses I've had, on day one, we said, we're going to try to scale this thing. So how do we design a business from the beginning that actually is designed to scale, right? That is cookie cutter, built and packaged. My question for you is, when you started Romeo's with one store, did you already know then that you wanted to scale? And if not, or if so, what was the decision-making process for you to say, I'm going to see if I can build a lot of these stores?
Well, when I bought Romeo's, the idea was to scale. It wasn't my first foray into pizza. After I graduated college, 2.5 years later, 3 years later, I quit my job and bought a pizza shop in New Jersey that was very successful. We made a lot of money, and we sold it. Moved back to Ohio, but I learned a lot from not being able to scale, because it was all about my effort and how many times I could make the pizza and how many times we could satisfy a customer. So when I came back to Ohio, I got back into mergers and acquisitions, a CPA firm, and kind of saw a bigger business. I saw how the big business works. They have the right accountants, the right marketing people, the right business people. So in order to scale something, I think that's where it starts. You have to have the tracks to run down the rail. So when I bought Romeo's, I knew that I wanted to bring Romeo's to 50 stores. That was kind of the goal. And it was just a little mom and pop at the time. But at that point, I didn't really understand how to do that in the pizza world. I knew I loved pizza, and I knew that the passion was there. That's key number one, your passion. However, I didn't know the mechanics. So I actually brought in a pizza consultant. He exists, the one guy, Big Dave.
Wait, what do they do? Because I'm going to pretend to be one until they kick me out.
They go from pizzeria to pizzeria, and
But you get to eat the pizza, right?
all the time. Yeah.
Until someone figures out I don't know what I'm doing.
That's
I'm
why
do
he's
that.
called Big Dave.
Oh, yeah.
So he came in and he really put me on the path of, this is how you scale this business. You have a great pizza, you've won some awards, but that's just not enough. You have to make it duplicatable, right? I don't even know if that's a word, but I use that a lot. So he put me on a path, and it literally took 4 years for us to go from 1 store to 2 stores. So in the 15 years of Romeo's, it's the first 4 we doubled.
So wait, talk about that for a minute. What were the 4 randomly picked 4 toughest things that you had to do to go from 1 store to 2?
Number 1 is people. So you have to have people. And it's people that not only do you trust, but buy into the entire operation, see a bigger picture with you. So it takes inspiration. You have to have people who believe in the concept and believe in you, that you are going to carry it even through the bad times, you know. And so number 1 is people. Number 2, you have to have procedures. You have to have systems and processes that this is how we make a pepperoni pizza every single time for every single customer. It's, you know, it's the exact amount of cheese, the exact amount of pepperoni. This is how the dough is supposed to look. This is how long it cooks. So once you set up your systems and processes, and that's really what takes a long time, because you have to document that. In order to duplicate it, you have to document it.
So let's stop there for a minute, because he had a really, really important point. On the top of my book, I put on here, it says, proven principles to grow your business, but after next to that it says, and get your life back. And the reason that we said that is the reason that so many businesses don't scale is because nobody knows how to make a better pizza than me. Nobody knows how to review an account better than me. Nobody knows how to whatever. Business owners tend to think there's an old, really misleading adage. If you want something done right, do it yourself. If you do that, you will never grow. Because he can only be in 1 pizza store at a time. You're not going to have 33 if it's dependent on you. So you have to be willing to let go and let other people do it as well or better than you. And the only way you can do that is to define processes so you can create another Sean. Right. You hand them the book and say, here, you be Sean in the other store. So that was a really important point.
Yeah, that's important. And I think the third most important thing we did was a marketing plan that made sense to grow. So if we marketed, we were thinking long-term branding. It wasn't necessarily what the best coupon was going to be, what the next special was going to be. It was about our brand and what did our brand stand for. So it really took 4 years to establish, and this is only in one town, Medina. So we had to establish a brand, and then our next store, we go to Westlake, who, Westlake and Medina are miles away. I mean, literally, not just geographically, but what does the brand carry over, And so our brand stood for quality and passion and ingredients and really good pizza. So, communicating that it took time to understand what things work to communicate your brand, what things don't work to communicate your brand.
So let's stop there for a minute, because you hit another really, really important point in scaling a business. When you are trying to scale a business, this is the importance of brand, and I'm so glad that you emphasize that. Let me just explain what a brand does, what a brand's job is. There's a tipping point from companies that are trying to grow to companies that take off. And let me tell you what it is. And I can tell you this looking backwards many years later, and literally many cities and continents that we grew into later. The tipping point is the day that it's the day people start asking for you. in day one in sales and marketing, you are going out telling everybody, let me just use our example really quick. You're trying to sell Priceline. You got to go visit every hotel. And you go to a hotel and you give your pitch and say, do you want to sign up? That is long and slow when you have to go out and explain everything to everybody. The brand, when your brand gets a personality and a reputation, high quality, good pizza. When a brand gets out ahead of you, the day that you grow is the day that your phone starts ringing. And I'll tell you what happened to us. Instead of flying a team of people to every hotel and advertising and marketing and pitching, one day the phone started ringing. Hi, who's this? We're a hotel. We want to sign up. The tipping point for scale is when people start asking for you. People start asking for you when your brand gets out ahead of you. When somebody says, geez, I wish we had good pizza in our area, someone says, man, we should get a Romeo's. When the conversation starts and people start reaching out to you, that's when you start to scale. That cannot happen if you don't spend time making your brand stand for something.
And that's exactly what happened with us, because we never sold, we still haven't ever sold a franchise in Romeo's. People have bought them. So people would come to us. Our third store was, we had an appearance on the Food Network. Clearly that's huge. And the day I found out, my partner and I went out and bought a new pizza shop the next day. Literally.
Didn't you also buy that vest the same day?
Do you like the vest?
I like it. It's good for TV.
Yeah. It's good. Not that I'm self-conscious about the vest, Jeff, but...
Dude, I complimented the vest. Let's be clear.
Thank you. I trust her opinion. So we're on TV. Suddenly now people are asking for us, like you said, and we start opening new stores and seeing great success. And at one point in Romeo's, we built a new store every 3 weeks for 18 months, and this was during 07, 08. And so there's another opportunity that the fourth thing I guess is, when you see the opportunity, take it. And, everybody else in the world was selling. It was a recession. And, I can remember even I was up for an Entrepreneur of the Year award in Medina. I didn't win. But what's funny, I'll give you a little side note. So I was up for the Entrepreneur of the Year award, and I wrote the speech for it because I'm thinking maybe I have a chance. And I'm reviewing the speech in my lab. There's other awards going on, and suddenly they announce my name, and it's Enterprise of the Year or something. So I go, I'm flustered. I have no idea. I go up there. They're introducing me. And I look back at the girl, and I go, did I win both? She goes, no. All right. So the only thing I could do was give my Entrepreneur of the Year speech. And I apologized and said, this is all I got. So, but the crux of it was, I chose not to participate in the recession. That was a quote that has carried over for literally 8 years now. That during the recession, we were building stores nonstop because there was opportunities. You gotta eat pizza. So that was a huge part of our scaling as well.
So now you have the success with Romeo's, and you decide to launch Pizza Fire. Was it easier? You learned a lot from Romeo's, but talk about your sort of attitude and approach towards Pizza Fire and how big you plan to scale that and how you plan to achieve that.
So I feel like everything you do gives you the next opportunity. So I was asked to be part of the Pizza Industry Council of the National Restaurant Association. And, I'm like, yes, I would love to do that. I show up, and, we have 35 stores, and I tell my little story, and everybody kind of gives me a little pat on the back and says, that's cute, right? Because everybody on this thing is Hungry Howie's and Domino's, and these are big players. So that's when Sean says, I'm just going to sit here and listen. I'm not going to talk much. And at the time, the wave of fast casual pizza had just taken hold in California and started moving, right? Because everything starts over there with new food. And so, and it's blowing up. It's huge. So that was my first indication that the world is changing in terms of fast casuals. what millennials want to participate in. And that's so important. You have to understand who your market is. And so what I decided to do was I literally spent a year and a half working on a product through all of the Italy trips that I lost and, everything I've learned in pizza to create a pizza that I think we could blow up. Because the key for us is to be first, right? No, there is no fast casual pizza here in Ohio. No matter what LeBron says, he's not here yet. And he can't get in here because we got here first. So that's really our growth strategy, is to take what I've learned in Romeo's that took 15 years. I've literally condensed it down to, we're at 18 months right now. We have 6 stores open today, and by the end of the year we'll have 20. We have 14 stores that we already have deals on. They're building. So, and then next year we want to be at 50. So 3 years, be at 50, that took 15 years to be at 35 with Romeo's.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. You said a really interesting thing that I want you all to think about with scaling too, which is the way you think way ahead, right? What would my life, my company, my business, my staff look like with 6 stores? What would it look like with 15? What would it look like with 20? In fact, quick funny story, the way I learned this one day, I was doing a charity event with this woman, if you've never heard of her. They call her the Black Widow. Her real name's Jeanette Lee. She's the world's #1 women's pool player. And she was shooting pool at this charity event. And I was standing there, and she had this really, really easy shot. And she stood there and looked at it. Here's, the ball, the hole, and the cue ball. And she stared and she stared. And I finally leaned over and whispered, and I said, "That is the easiest and most obvious shot in the world. What are you doing? What are you thinking about?" And she said, "Jeff, I'm about 7 shots ahead in my mind right now." She said, "I've just shot the next 6 shots, and I'm seeing where that positions me for the 7th ball." I said, "My bad, I won't say anything again." But then I went home and thought, do I do that in my business, or am I always looking at the next shot? What do I have to do for 2016? The smart business people that grow do what you just said. They play the game 6 shots ahead. What would my business look like at 5 stores, at 10 stores, at 15? So we just want to let you know that's really good advice. What would your life be like, and can you support that, and can you deliver it? The worst case is not really growth. The worst case is getting 20 stores and then you can't service them, and you get a bad reputation and you fail. That's better than never having built them. So let's give us kind of what we're going to do is bring our other guest up here. Then we're going to have an open discussion about this. But I would like you to give us some sort of parting, the most important lessons you've learned for scaling.
That's such a great lead-in, because as I'm sitting here and over there and I'm thinking, like, how did we scale, right? And it's all in your mind first, anyways. You build it in your own head. So what I did was I brought in an incredible operations person, a great franchise development guy, and an okay marketing guy. I mean, no, but
I see Ryan. Are the other ones here?
they're laughing.
Weird. But they're eating that pizza over there.
No, they're not eating that pizza. But the reality is, everything happens in your mind before it happens in real life. So it's almost, and I know this sounds stupid, but the Matrix, where you can, if you imagine it first and you build it in your mind first. When we opened up our Akron store, the very first day I remember sitting there and people were flooding in, and the best question I got was, how many of these are there? Well, how long have you been open? And we're open like 2 hours. Remember that? 2 hours. But the reason is I had 10,000 customers in my head go through the line. And every time I literally thought, how did this work? And so I did the same thing with scaling the company. So we're a 50-store company. We just haven't got there yet.
Great way to think about it.
And that's what we did. So my fear is, when you say, how do you stop? How do I think to get to 100 stores or 200 stores? I'm not quite there yet. entrepreneurship is a learning, and so building that is in your head. So once you figure out how you do what you do, you can make it happen in the real world.
That's fantastic. Like he said, think 6 shots ahead. Think like you already are a 50-store company. You just have to behave like that and grow into it. And I got to say, before we bring our next guest up here, if you haven't been to Pizza Fire, you need to go. I stumbled into it by accident, and it is my favorite pizza, and I am a pizza connoisseur. I eat it all over the planet. And before Ryan ever called, before I ever met Sean, like I told you, I turned to Ian and said, this is my new favorite pizza. Let's make sure there's one everywhere we go. So if you haven't been there, go try it. Sean,
189 countries, you said, right?
you got 189 left, but you're on your way. Carolyn, why don't you come back up and bring up our next guest? Sean, stay here because we're going to have an open discussion afterwards. Thank you, guys. Let's give a round of applause to Sean.